alternate realities, murder mysteries, and tattooed chicken. Is this place a store, an amusement park, or a cult? Today we are talking all things OmegaMart, and you have no idea what's in store for you. So real quick, in case you're new here, hi, my name's Jess, and this is Strange Stuff, where you and me dive into the weirdest, wildest theories surrounding strange places and mysteries of the world, and I attempt to do my eye makeup too. So I came across OmegaMart while I was researching my supermarket video, and I could barely wrap my head around it. There is so much to cover. I researched the living heck out of this one. I have so many pages of notes, and I came up with sort of a timeline with all of the lore, so I'm gonna do my little disclaimers and we'll get right to it. So PSAs, all the stuff I'm gonna be using will be down there, and also all of this is for fun and for entertainment. And my biggest PSA, this video will be diving into the storylines surrounding OmegaMart. So if you don't want spoilers, if you want to go in blind, this is not the video for you. I am literally gonna spoil everything I can, so without further rambling, let's get into OmegaMart. Don't forget the ice, don't forget the butter, don't forget yourself. So do you guys say Omega or Omega? Because I'm like weirdly self-conscious of the way I'm saying it. Anyway, OmegaMart lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, and was built by an arts and entertainment group called Meow Wolf back in 2021. And there were two sort of tester OmegaMarts before the big one, with the first one being basically a very small, very weird yard sale. There's a lesson here. Keep at it, kids. So upon entering OmegaMart, it looks pretty much like a normal, everyday grocery store, save for the fact that you might see a person or two walking around in hazmat suits. But upon further inspection, you'll start to realize that the products are just sort of off. There are some very weird, purchasable by the way, things like dark matter spray, tattooed chicken, energy drinks, and posters that are begging you to wake up, things like that. And like I said in the supermarket video, if you haven't figured it out by now, this is not a normal grocery store. It is an art installation, but it goes even deeper than that. I feel like we've all probably seen those places where it looks like a normal store or laundromat or whatever, and then you go through some hidden door and it's like a big psychedelic room, art stuff, etc. Well, OmegaMart takes that about 100 steps further, because there is lore surrounding this place that spans 1.5 million years. Like 1.5 million years, multiple planets. The thought and imagination that Meow Wolf has put into this is absolutely insane. So I'm gonna try and fit as much as I can in this video. I'm gonna try and hit the bigger, more important things, but if I hit everything, this video would be hours and hours and hours long. And the owners say that there are entire storylines that have not even been discovered, so going through everything is also just not even possible yet, so here we go. Now, the lore of OmegaMart does not stop at the physical location. It is truly immersive down to its online presence. There are hints to the various mysteries on location, of course, on their website, on their employee videos, commercials, the whole nine. Lore everywhere you turn. It's wonderful. So I think we need to start at the actual supermarket part, because that's where you first walk in. OmegaMart opened its doors in lore and in real life in 2021, and if you watch the employee training video, things start off relatively normal. But before long, you start to see people walking around in hazmat suits, and you see what they call a difficult spill that seemingly rips a wormhole right through the floor. And the video, which you can find on the Meow Wolf YouTube, by the way, says that difficult spill hazards include tripping, misplaced customers, and equipment failure. So now it's getting a little worrisome. Now at the actual OmegaMart location, you can go on a computer and watch a video from February 2021 with Dram Corp CEO Cecilia, Dram Corp being the fictional parent company of OmegaMart. And the video is essentially a Zoom meeting between Cecilia and the lab about this incident, about the wormhole in the floor. So Cecilia asks how things are coming along, and the lab answers her back saying, "So the good news is we did create a portal yesterday. Huge success there, really great. Small caveat, it opened at OmegaMart, and tiny issue, a customer fell through." At this point, Cecilia asks where the portal led, and the lab answered that that was unclear. So now they're making portals. Wonderful, super normal thing to do, but with what? Well, it seems to be that this difficult spill is something called Additive S, aka a sophisticated bio-supplement that Dram Corp infuses their products with starting back in 2013 to make them extra addictive and increase customer satisfaction by up to 700%. So they actually have their very own factory connected to OmegaMart, but the factory came first in the lore. It was built in 2013. And you can enter the factory through one of the hidden entrances that they call portals in OmegaMart. And this factory harvests the human element needed for Additive S from its own customers, aka you and me, who would go to the physical location. And the way they would do this is you'll see a flashing sign that says entering the factory floor. By doing so, you consent to metaphysical asset extraction by Dram Corp and its subsidiaries. Proceed with intention. And then you'll go down these big scary slides and freeze tag. I do believe they're out of order right now, so they're probably having a pretty rough harvest season. And when you reach the bottom, there will be an OmegaMart employee standing there saying thank you for adding your human element to the source. But what is the source? We're gonna get there, okay? So if you go through a different portal in the supermarket, you will end up in this really beautiful psychedelic kind of world that they call the Forked Earth. Remember that name, it's important and it's gonna come up a lot more. And the Forked Earth contains 7 Monolith Village. Now, if you look around here, you'll notice a couple things. One, that there are posters everywhere of a missing girl named Marin, and 2, that there are rivers running along the floor here. So we're gonna touch on that first. So this is called runoff, and it is a byproduct of that factory that Dram Corp built because they built it in 7 Monolith Village, and it is pretty severely affecting everything. Residents of this village started noticing some really weird stuff going on, which you can read about in one of their journals. And this journal is obviously at the actual location. So this girl is a teenage resident named Jessie, and in January 2021, so a few years after that factory was built, she writes that the entire Forked Earth is changing and that something is wrong with the sky and the land. It flashes in strange cycles, and there are definitely some colors we haven't seen before. And later that same month, Jessie and 2 of her friends, Zemina and Laura, they create a resistance group to fight back against Dram Corp. So they are resisting, I guess. Because, Dram Corp has essentially taken over the Forked Earth at this point and created this factory runoff that is messing with everything. It's pretty much destroying their entire town. And at the location, you're able to see Jessie and Laura's journals, Zemina's blogs, some emails that the girls had sent back and forth. So again, it's just really immersive and super neat. So now about Marin, and this is where it starts getting real crazy. Now she is a 16-ish year old resident of 7 Monolith Village, and she is also the daughter of Dram Corp CEO Cecilia Dram. She has no father, same, because she is a child of the source, and because of this, she cannot leave the Forked Earth. Okay, now we're gonna backtrack a little bit, a lot, like a million years in a different planet, a lot. So stick with me, I'm trusting you. Okay, so 1.5 million years ago on Earth, but in another dimension. I know, it's a lot. Now this planet is mostly referred to as the Xenion planet. An alien race called the Nula discovered the source well. And listen, source is everything. It is the physical manifestation of desire and the source of all creativity and imagination. It can help people with their work. It can also bring things to life. It's a really big deal. And the Nula were said to be able to control the source with their minds. So about 500,000 years ago on that same planet, a fish-like alien race called the Xenion were created from the source. And their leader / head priestess was named Tali. And there is a giant book at the location that you can kind of go through to see their story, but it does need to be translated with this key. So the source gave the Xenions the ability to thrive and to walk on land, but they also became dependent on it to survive, which apparently is what you don't want to do. Now, they collected the source in bottles to try and control it, but the source was not happy with this. So because the source was upset with being contained, there was this huge, catastrophic blowback that destroyed the nation of Xenia and caused their planet to collide with Earth, creating the forked Earth right in that same spot that the two planets smacked into each other. And this resulted in a separate dimension that looks similar to Earth, where the two planets sort of overlapped. And that dimension, aka the forked Earth, houses the source well, which you can see at the location. And you can also see the bodies of the remaining Xenion that died when all of this happened. #RIP. Now I'm going to throw some dates and some bigger events at you real quick. While I attempt to do some liquid eyeliner, this may not turn out well. So in 1931, humans crossed into the forked Earth for the first time, and they founded 7 Monolith Village, and they found the source well, which majorly helped them with their chores. And in 1969, Walter Dram, Cecilia's dad, wins a failing grocery store called Alphamart in a poker game and changes the name to OmegaMart. And this was a different location, not the Vegas one. And in 1977, Dram Corp, the parent company, is founded by its CEO, Walter Dram. And in 2000, Cecilia Dram would start working at Dram Corp, and this action would have consequences. In June of that same year, Walter sends a telegram to his brother Charlie, who lives in the forked Earth, saying that Cecilia is losing reality, that she's going crazy, and he and his family are in imminent danger. In 2003, Cecilia travels to the forked Earth to take place in a special ceremony involving the source, and soon after, she discovers she's pregnant. Father, source, apparently. Now in 2004, Marin, the love child of Cecilia and the source, is born and she cannot leave the forked Earth. So Cecilia leaves her to be raised by Charlie and a forked Earth herbalist named Rose. Very fitting name. Now in 2005, Cecilia launches DART, the Dram Corp Advanced Research Team. In 2007, Kaz Matsumura joins Dram Corp, and he is going to come back up in a big way. And in 2008, Dram Corp buys the land that houses the source well, so now they have full control over the source. Which sounds just great and not at all nefarious. In March 2012, Cecilia sends a card to her Uncle Charlie saying that she is going to take the Drams interdimensional, whatever that means. And in 2013, the factory is built in 7 Monolith Village, which we've talked about, and a ton of the residents leave due to the runoff. Now in 2020, Marin joins the little friend group of Jessie, Zamina, and Laura, and they're gonna come back up too. Now October of 2020, this is where it really starts hitting the fan. So Walter formally announces Kaz Matsumura as his successor to Dram Corp in his will, and Cecilia is furious. And I mean, that is your daughter, even if she's nuts. And you can actually see the memo on their website about this. So again, with the immersiveness, that's not a word. In the same month, Marin starts having dreams where Cecilia is dumping cereal on her head, which is so disturbing. But more importantly, that there are portals opening up in her room, which you can actually see on the Meow Wolf YouTube. I'll see if I can link it. I haven't really figured out links yet. And shortly after, she starts creating portals herself, which you can actually read about at the location. So in the village part, you can actually go into her room, freeze tag very Y2K, and she has a little computer on her desk where you can read her emails, her blog, look at her pictures, things like that. Now in January 2021, so a few months later, Cecilia, Walter, and Marin meet at the source well so Walter can meet Marin for the first time. And she's like 16 at this point, by the way, so like you've had time, but whatever. Now Walter is astounded by Marin being created by Source, so he asks Cecilia, do you realize how much manufacturers would pay for this? He basically wants to sell her. First time you ever met her and you want to sell her. Thanks, Grandpa. And then on the video, you hear Cecilia say she isn't a product, Walter. And you can't actually see the video very well. It's just really foggy and grainy in that room. But it's suspected that Cecilia pushed Walter into the source well in anger. And can you blame her? Not really. And after this, Marin gets scared, opens a portal, and vanishes. So later, Jessie, Marin's friend, writes in her journal that Marin never came back from lunch with Cecilia and Walter, and she thinks that Cecilia is at fault. And I mean, Cecilia is nuts, I'll give her that, but in this one instance, she was trying to protect her. I mean, she killed her grandpa, but she was trying to protect her. Zemina also posts on her blog about Marin and how she thinks that Dram Corp had something, aka a lot, to do with it. So this is when Jessie, Zemina, and Laura formed their resistance group called the Monolith to fight back against Dram Corp and to find their little friend, Marin. And after Walter's disappearance on January 18th, 2021, Cecilia takes it upon herself to publicly announce herself as acting CEO effective immediately. And she opens the brand new flagship Las Vegas OmegaMart, built right onto the factory to eliminate distribution costs, which honestly, kinda smart. Now, if you look around the location, you'll see all these codes with numbers and some random letters. And if you put them all together in numerical order, it spells out, "It was my daughter's push." Now, it used to spell "It was my daughter's wish." I don't know why they changed it, but they did. So there's a computer at the location where you can watch a meeting between Cecilia and the Dram Corp board, and they immediately start asking about Walter, as they should. And an email notification from Walter pops up on Cecilia's screen full of all these random symbols, and then an unknown caller joins and says Cecilia's name. And she's like, oh my god, what a crazy glitch, but of course the board is not having it. So they then approve a third-party investigation into Walter's disappearance. 2 days later, there is a meeting you can watch between Cecilia and the Dart Lab, and they're talking about the portal experiments, and they tell Cecilia that some subjects claim to see Marin when they close their eyes, which is spooky. I don't like that. 3 days after that, on February 13th, 2021, Cecilia gives a speech to unveil her new program, the Leadership Ascension Track, which in a nutshell is a cult, which seems like classic her. And the Monolith, Marin's 3 friends that created the resistance group, they infiltrate and start screaming at Cecilia, asking where Marin is. And that same day, Jessie broke into the factory to take videos of the runoff, which she said had creatures growing out of it, and says she came close to the source well and heard a man speaking to her. Okay, now at the actual location, the source well is behind a giant door that needs a code to open, and spoiler alert, it never opens even if you get the code right. Now apparently there are 2 correct codes. The first will give you an image of a glowing orb with Walter saying in part, just as the Xenions before us, we will be undone by our greed. And the second gives you an image of a Xenion, which I think is probably Tali, saying in part, light through shadow, love through loss, creation through destruction, power through vulnerability, peace through turmoil, this power is within you, keep it alive. Listen, there's a lesson here, but I'm not gonna be the one to figure it out. And in February 2021, Laura gets a job at OmegaMart to infiltrate Dram Corp, writing in her journal that she was gonna crawl into the machine and combust. Drama. Well-deserved drama though. And in August 2021, there was a new bulletin posted to the company news section of the Dram Corp website from now acting CEO Kaz Matsumura. And it says a lot, but nothing at the same time. It seems like a stream of consciousness. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But what it does say at the very, very bottom is that Cecilia is totally on the outs. So what does that mean? What happened to her? Now, things have been relatively quiet since then until Meow Wolf released a YouTube video in July of this year called Mysterious Objects of Ritual. And it features a lot of drawings of some really weird symbols. One that looks exactly like the scepter from the Xenion books, which by the way can be found in Cecilia's desk. Now, why she has a scepter in her desk, I can't be certain. This is my conflict resolution scepter. And these symbols are also found on her Leadership Ascension Track website. So coincidence? highly doubt it. Nothing is a coincidence here. But there is one video at the location that says, quote, she holds the scepter, she's activated the stones. But what any of that means, nobody knows yet. But I'm hoping this new video is a sign that we will get more content and more answers soon. Now currently the store remains locked, and Meowwolf has said that there is a locked gate keeping people from new storylines, so I think it's pretty obvious that that's exactly what it is. But we do know that there is a room behind that door, so the general consensus seems to be that they will be expanding soon, and I'm sure that that scepter is going to play a major culty part of the new story. So did Cecilia go mad and kill Walter? Did Kaz kill Cecilia? Why do they need our human element, and what are the stones? OmegaMart seems like one of those things where you leave with more questions than answers, and maybe that's not satisfying, but it's all we have until their expansion, and therefore it's all I have for today. I hope you liked my tale, and as always, if you have any story ideas, please feel free to comment them so I can see what you want to see. And I truly hate to disappoint, but I will not have a new video next week. I'm gonna be out of town, but I will see you the Thursday after that, so toodaloo!